Josef Vornay, France, 1940. 1 year, 1 month, and 10 days from home. Gunfire crackled. An artillery shell whistled overhead and hit with a shuddering thoom somewhere nearby. Ruthie cried, and Joseph's mother hugged her close. Joseph peeked out the window. They were hiding in a tiny schoolhouse in a village called Lorgny, somewhere south of Bourges in France. The desks were all in perfect rows, and a long-forgotten assignment was still written on the chalkboard. It was dark outside, and the trees surrounding the schoolhouse made it even darker. That was good. It helped them hide, but it also made spotting German stormtroopers harder. Joseph ducked back down inside, and his eyes fell on a map of Europe on the wall. The various countries shaded different colors. How wrong that map was now. Just a year after he and his family had come to France as refugees, Germany had absorbed Austria and conquered Poland and Czechoslovakia soon after. Holland and Belgium and Denmark had fallen to Hitler, and the Nazis occupied the northern half of France, including Paris. All of France had surrendered, but there were still pockets of Free France forces resisting the Nazis throughout the countryside where Joseph and his family were now. The only refugees from the St. Louis who were still safe, Joseph realized, were the ones who had made it to Great Britain. The word was that Hitler was going to try to cross the English Channel any day now. Joseph and his mother and sister were trying to get to Switzerland in the hope that the Swiss would give them refuge. They'd made it this far by traveling by night, sleeping in hay barns and out in fields under the stars. But the Nazis had finally caught up to them. A light played across the window above him, and Joseph chanced to look out again. Stormtroopers, headed toward the school. They're coming, Joseph told his mother. We have to go. His mother picked up Ruthie and headed for the door, but Joseph stopped her. There was only one door to the schoolhouse, and the Nazis would be using it. No, this way, he said. Joseph kept low as he scurried to the back wall of the classroom. There was a window there. They would climb out and run for the woods. He tried the handle. It was stuck. Joseph looked over his shoulder. He could see the beam of a flashlight in the hall outside, could hear the familiar German language of his homeland. They had to get out of there. Joseph threw his elbow against the glass, and it shattered. That brought a cry from the hallway. Joseph knocked the rest of the glass out of the window in a panic. He felt his coat sleeve rip, felt something cold and sharp against his skin, but he didn't have time to think about that. He helped his mother out first, and then handed Ruthie out to her through the window. Go, go, Joseph said before he was even all the way out the window, and his mother picked up Ruthie and ran for the darkness of the woods. None of them carried suitcases anymore. Those had been left behind long ago, but they still wore their coats, even though it was the height of summer. His mother had insisted. The only thing any of them still carried was Bitsy, the little stuffed bunny Ruthie had never parted with. It was tucked tightly under Ruthie's arm. Joseph leaped down from the window, stumbled, got back up, and ran. There! There! The beam of flashlight found him. A pistol cracked, and the bullet blew the bark off a tree less than a meter away from him. Joseph stumbled again in panic, righted himself, and kept running. Behind him, the stormtroopers were yelling to each other, barking like dogs after a fox. They were on the scent now and wouldn't let up, not until Joseph and his family had been caught. There's a house up ahead, his mother yelled over her shoulder. She swerved onto a small dirt lane, and Joseph overtook her, beating her to the door. It was a little French country house with 2 windows on either side of a double door in the middle and a chimney on one of the sides. Joseph caught a faint whiff of smoke from the kitchen fire, and a curtain fluttered in the window. Someone was inside. Joseph pounded on the door. He glanced over his shoulder. 3 flashlight beams were bouncing up the lane toward them. Help! Please help us! Joseph whispered frantically, still pounding. No one answered. and no lights came on inside. "Halt!" came a young man's voice. Joseph spun around. There were 4 German soldiers behind them. 3 of them pointed flashlights at them, making Joseph squint. He could still see well enough to know that 2 of them had rifles pointed at them. A third carried a pistol. "Hands up! Put the child down!" the stormtrooper told Joseph's mother. Ruthie tried to cling to her, but Mama did as she was told. Dully, Joseph realized that he'd lost some of the feeling in his right arm, and that his sleeve was coated in blood. He'd cut himself on the window glass, badly. He'd squeezed the place where his arm had grazed the glass, and the pain was so blinding it almost made him pass out. Ruthie had her head down, crying, but she raised her little bunny's right arm and said, "Hail Hitler!" One of the soldiers laughed as he blinked the pain of his arm away. And as he blinked the pain of his arm away, Joseph thought maybe the soldiers would let them go. But one of them said, "Papers." They were in trouble now for sure. Their papers had big letter J's stamped all over them. J for Jew. We don't have papers," Mama said. One of the soldiers gestured at her, and a stormtrooper with a rifle marched up to them and checked her coat pockets. He quickly found the paper she carried for her and Ruthie, and just as easily found Joseph's papers on him. The soldier brought them back to a man with a flashlight, and he unfolded them. "Jews," the man said, "from Berlin. You've run a long way from home." "You have no idea," thought Joseph. "We're going to Switzerland," Ruthie said. "Hush, Ruthie," Joseph hissed. "Switzerland? Is that so? Well, I'm afraid we cannot allow that," the soldier said. "You will be taken to a concentration camp like the rest of the Jews." Why, thought Joseph. Why bother hunting us down and taking us back to prison? If the Nazis want us Jews gone so badly, why don't they just let us keep going? One of the soldiers came toward them with a gun. "No, wait!" Joseph's mother cried. "I have money. Richemarks. French francs." She fumbled inside her shirt where she kept their money hidden. The bills fluttered to the ground. The soldier moved the bills around with his feet and made a tisking sound. "It's not enough, I'm afraid." Joseph's heart sank. At the chance she might really be able to buy their way out, Joseph's mother became hysterical. Wait! I have jewelry! Diamonds!" She yanked at Ruthie's coat, pulling it off over her head. "Mama, what are you doing?" Ruthie cried. Joseph's mother ripped at the seams, the way his father had when he'd rent his garments for old Professor Whaler on the ship. From Ruthie's coat, she pulled something that glittered in the light of the electric torches. Earrings. The diamond earrings Joseph's father had bought for her for their anniversary one year. Joseph remembered Papa giving them to her, remembered the smile on Mama's face, the light in her eyes, both long gone now. Mama had sewn the earrings into the lining of Ruthie's coat. That was why she never let Ruthie take it off. The soldier took the earrings from Joseph's mother and examined them in the light. Joseph held his breath. Maybe they would let his mother buy their way out of this after all. "Everything I was able to keep," his mother said. "It's all yours. Just please, let us go." "These are very nice," the soldier said, "but I think there's only enough here to buy freedom for one of your children." But that's all I have left," Mama said. The soldier looked at her expectantly. At first, Joseph didn't understand what he wanted. They didn't have anything else to give him. But then the Nazi pulled Joseph and Ruthie to him and turned them around for Mama to see. And that's when Joseph understood. The Nazis didn't care how much money they had, how many jewels. It wasn't about that. He was playing with them. This was another game, like a cat playing with a mouse before he ate it. "I think there's only enough here to buy freedom for one of your children." One of Rachel Landau's children would go free, and one of her children would go into the camps. The Nazi soldier smiled at Joseph's mother. "You choose."